The air in the grand ballroom of the Hotel Unique in São Paulo was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and self-congratulation. Crystal chandeliers, each the size of a small car, dripped light onto a sea of tailored tuxedos and glittering gowns. I was Leo, the 22-year-old junior photographer, and my assignment was to capture this illusion of perfection for the society pages. My job was simple: make the rich look generous. The guest of honor was the billionaire industrialist Heitor Teles, a man who had built an empire from his father's inheritance, and was now celebrated for donating a fraction of it back in highly publicized charity galas like this one. My lens found the rehearsed smiles, the air kisses, the clinking of champagne glasses. Every photo felt like a beautiful, polished lie. That's when I saw her. Amidst the swirling chaos of waiters balancing silver trays, she stood out. Her name, I would learn, was Cecilia, a black woman in her 70s wearing a simple grey staff uniform. She moved with a slow, deliberate grace, offering canapés to people who didn't see her. But it was her face that stopped me. Her eyes didn't hold the polite deference of the other staff. They held an encyclopedia of sorrow, a quiet, profound sadness that seemed utterly out of place in this palace of joy. I found myself lowering my camera, mesmerized. She was the only real thing in the room. During a break in the endless speeches, I saw her slip away down a long, quiet hall lined with art. She stopped in front of a massive oil portrait of Heitor Teles, a younger, sterner version of the man on stage. She stared up at his painted face, her own expression a complex tapestry of love and pain. A single tear traced a path through the fine lines on her cheek. "Eu te segurei em meus braços," she whispered, more to herself than to the world. "I held you in my arms." The whisper hit me harder than the blaring orchestra. This wasn't just a server. There was a history here, a deep and broken connection. My curiosity outweighed my professional duty. I found her a few minutes later in a small service alcove, resting her feet. "Senhora," I began softly in Portuguese. "Forgive me. I saw you at the portrait. What did you mean?" She looked up at me, her eyes wary at first. Maybe she saw the sincerity in my face, the fact that I wasn't looking for gossip, but for a story. She sighed, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of years. "Heitor," she said, her voice raspy with emotion. "I was his baba, his nanny. His mother passed from a fever when he was only 2. I raised him. I was the one who taught him to walk, who sang him to sleep, who told him he could be anything he wanted to be. I was his mother in everything but name." She told me about the promise he'd made to her on his 18th birthday, right after he came into his fortune. He held her hands, the hands that had cared for him his whole life, and said, "Ceci, you will never have to worry about a thing. I will take care of you forever. You are family." Forever, it turned out, had an expiration date. As his empire grew, he began to distance himself. First, she was moved from her room in the main house to a small cottage on the grounds. Then, her duties were slowly given to a younger, more formal staff. Finally, a sterile business manager called her and informed her that Mr. Teles was restructuring his household and her services were no longer required. She was given a severance of a few months' pay and a hollow "thank you." She hadn't spoken to Heitor in over 20 years. "Now," she said, looking at her worn, sensible shoes, "I live in a small room in Zona Leste. I take the bus 2 hours to work events like this, serving men like him just to pay my rent." Her voice held no bitterness, only a deep, aching sorrow. "And I see him on television donating millions. A hero, but he forgot the woman who held him." A cold fury washed over me. The entire evening, this monument to philanthropy was a grotesque hypocrisy. The greatest act of charity Heitor Teles could perform would cost him nothing. It would be to honor a single promise to the woman who raised him. My earpiece crackled. My boss's frantic voice. "Leo, where are you? Teles is presenting the check. Get the money shot now." I walked back towards the ballroom. On stage, Heitor was holding a giant novelty check, his smile as bright and artificial as the flashbulbs erupting around him. This was the photo I was paid to take. The lie. I looked past the stage to a service door left ajar. I could see Cecilia standing in the shadows watching the boy she had raised. In that instant, I made a choice. I wasn't a PR photographer anymore. I was a witness. I ignored my boss's frantic shouts. I pushed through the throng of photographers, raised my camera and twisted the focus ring. I didn't point my lens at the billionaire. I pointed it at her. I zoomed in past the glitter, past the stage, until my entire frame was filled with her face. The sorrow, the love, the resilience, the betrayal, the single tear still glistening on her cheek. the reflection of the glittering gala in her tired eyes. Click. I knew that photo would never make the society pages. I knew I was probably fired. That night, I went home and developed the image in my small darkroom. In the starkness of black and white, her story was deafening. I titled it, A Dama Esquecida, the Forgotten Lady. I sent it to the photojournalism desk of Folha de São Paulo, one of Brazil's largest newspapers. The photo didn't just run, it exploded. The story went viral. The image of the forgotten nanny became a symbol of the hollow nature of corporate charity. The public outcry was immense. Shamed on a national scale, Heitor Teles was forced to act. A few weeks later, I visited Cecilia. She opened the door to a new beautiful apartment in a quiet, safe neighborhood. She had a pension that meant she would never have to work again. She made me coffee, and we sat on her comfortable new sofa. "Thank you, Leo," she said, her eyes finally clear of that deep sorrow. "Not for the money, but for seeing me. You made him remember." I realized then that the photo of the year wasn't of a billionaire donating a check. It was of the woman he forgot. And in taking it, I hadn't just exposed the truth. I had helped deliver on a promise 40 years too late. What would you do in this situation? Share in the comments. If this story moved you, like and share. For more cinematic life stories told with depth and heart, subscribe to Voice of Sophia and ring the bell for notifications. Thank you for listening, for feeling, and for being part of this community. See you in the next story.